Hey there, welcome to Craft Central Designs. Today I am sharing with you this beautiful Easter floral arrangement, and my jute cord whimsical bunny is making yet another appearance on my channel, this time in a miniature form, all nestled in a bed of gorgeous spring florals in pinks and orchids. And does anyone who frequents the Dollar Tree recognize the egg that serves as the base of my arrangement? Yes, that's the Dollar Tree plus egg transformed into a vessel to hold my spring florals. I love this, and it is a very unique and lovely arrangement, and I hope you love it as well. Come with me while I show you just how I created this one step by step. Welcome to all to my channel today. If you are not currently a subscriber, I hope you will consider becoming one. And if you enjoy this tutorial, please give it a thumbs up and or a hype. And as always, I love receiving your comments and interacting with my viewers. So please feel free to leave me your comments. Let me know what you think of this bunny. And do you remember this bunny from the past? Yeah, I've done this one a couple of times in larger form. It was one of my most popular videos ever on my channel. So my little burlap jute cord bunny is again making an appearance. And I did it in a small form, and I just love it. She's all perched in all of those beautiful florals. And yeah, this one is cute. Okay, so let's get creating. All right, there's that Dollar Tree egg. I think I've seen this in just every Dollar Tree that I've stopped in lately. It's a very pretty. It has a nice textured floral design on it, and I'll show you what I did with that. And how I also contemplated doing something different with it, but ended up designing on this design, and I'm glad that I did. I have a styrofoam egg here. It's about 5 inches tall. And this is what I'm going to use to create my jute cord bunny. Okay, so this particular egg, it comes in a couple of different designs, actually 3 different textures. So check it out in your Dollar Tree. Hopefully they have one. And if not, you could use another vessel for your arrangement. You could use a glass cylinder from the Dollar Tree. You could use a small basket. You know, you don't have to abandon this project just because you can't find that egg. Hopefully, you'll be able to find the egg, but if you can't, I can offer you a few different suggestions on that. So, yeah. So I'm going to use a little bit of burlap fabric. I'm going to use that pink felt with the white polka dots. That's from the Dollar Tree. And of course, you're going to need some jute cord. Now, I also used this very narrow jute cord too. I use that for the whiskers. I don't want to use a jute cord that's heavier for the whiskers. So we'll talk more about that in a bit. Now, I did gather together some ribbons because I thought I was going to make a bow for this piece, and yeah, can you believe it? I didn't. I actually decided not to put a bow on here. Now, I may eventually put a bow on it because it's going somewhere for a raffle. And I may put a very, very small bow, maybe a narrow ribbon bow, but not going to do any of these larger bows. I felt that the piece was, really complete without adding a bow. So you tell me what you think when you see it. You can always add a bow if you like. So you're going to need some 26 gauge wire. You're going to need a couple of pipe cleaners and some greenery. I used 3 of my favorite greeneries from Hobby Lobby. I buy them on sale every other week. That eucalyptus bunch, that very feathery greenery, and a little bit more of a leafier greenery, and those are going to go very well on this piece. Now, otherwise, my florals are from Michael's, the Ashland florals. So I'm going to use those redunculas there, and I'm going to use that thistle. And this one, I love this one. It has a multiple different types of flowers on it. It also has some really cool greenery that I like, that I popped into my arrangement. So you can use whatever florals you like. I would suggest every other week going to Hobby Lobby. They have some very nice florals as well. But I believe all of Michael's Ashland florals have been on sale for a couple of weeks, and they have really, really pretty florals. You're looking at some of them right there. I did add those filler florals. Those are from Michael's as well. Really, really beautiful ones. Okay, that's pretty much it. Now, there might be an item or two here or there that I added. I did use some buttons for the eyes. Those are like a fabric-covered button, but you could use whatever you like for your eyes. Then I used another button that's kind of a covered button with pink with a polka dot, and I used that one. We'll talk about that more later because we'll talk about different options for the nose, okay? Okay, so now I'm going to begin wrapping my bunny. I want to go ahead and prepare my bunny, get that all ready, and then I'll be all ready to go because I have all of my florals, and all I have to do is paint my Dollar Tree egg. So I'm going to start off winding that jute cord around my styrofoam egg. Now, if you had another type of egg other than a styrofoam around this size, that would work as well. Anywhere that you could pick up an egg, you're going to be covering it completely anyway, so it really doesn't matter. I just happen to have these styrofoam eggs from last year, and this is going to work just fine for my little whimsical burlap bunny. So I'm going to begin with a tiny circle, and I'm just going to keep winding and winding and winding. Now, be careful when you're doing this that you don't start going sideways. I did a little bit on mine, honestly, but there wasn't really anything I could do about it. I really think that my egg was a little bit misshapen as well. Doesn't matter as long as it looks, pretty well in the end. So just don't worry about it if you go a little bit sideways. Just try and, just do the best that you can with it. So obviously I'm using hot glue here. And this process takes a few minutes. And I do use a good bit of glue on this because, I just want it to hold firmly onto that egg. Okay, so here's my egg. Now, you know that whenever you use hot glue and jute cord, you know that look of how the hot glue dries and you can actually see it sitting on the jute cord. I didn't worry about it until I got all finished, and then I just took some tweezers and I just pulled off any little glue globs. So yeah, pretty easy to clean that up. Okay, now I'm going to do the feet. Now, what my goal is to create 2 oval pieces, and I'm going to do that by doing the same type of winding around itself. I'm winding my jute cord around and around and around using glue. I'll get back in frame here in just a second. I was just trying to get started there. So, you can make your feet as large as you like. I believe mine were about 2¼ inches, something like that, at the longest point. Now, the way that I make these burlap bunnies is I create them with very long, tall burlap ears. And they don't have any arms. And they just have two big, floppy, funny-looking feet. And I put little paw pads on the bottom of the feet. And the bunny's feet turn out to the sides. Yeah, it's a really funny, very whimsical, very silly looking little bunny. But let me tell you, it was very popular when I created it. And then a couple of years later, I created it the first year on my channel. And a couple of years later, I created a family of them. And that was fun as well. I created, like a little family of bunnies, and it was super cute. But each time that I do it, I pretty much do them the same because I really like the design. Now, what you can see I'm doing here is just winding the jute cord around itself. I'm trying to form more of an oval than a circle, but don't, get too overly obsessed about it. It still turns out cute in the end. So the look of the bunny is that it's sitting with its feet facing you. And so I'm going to be putting some little felt paw pads on the bottom of the feet, but just go for like an oval shape. And you could just measure it out to be about that. Okay, so now I'm going to create the ears. And 5 inches long, rectangular piece of burlap fabric. So I'm just ironing it now. I need it to be nice and flat so I can cut out my ears. Now, you're going to have to wing this part, but just keep in mind, they're long and skinny. And this turns out super cute. So what I do is, let me see how I constructed these before I mention it. What I do with these ears is once I get them shaped and cut out, I like to fray them out. So I fold my fabric in half, and then I just cut out a long, skinny ear. But I leave a little bit of a straight piece right at the bottom of the ear. And that's where I'm going to fold the ear and glue it. So, just trim them up. Just do the best that you can with this part. But in general, they're about 5 inches long. So once I get one done, then I just use that one for a pattern to cut out the other one. Now, what I like to do with my ears is once I have them made, I take a little picker tool and I fray out the ears and I make them look very scraggly. That's the look of this bunny. Now, if you like yours in some other design, feel free to do it. You could do this same idea with a more tailored, more finished, more smooth bordered, if you will, bunny. You can wrap it with yarn, for example, some kind of twine. You could use fabric for the ears. Use your imagination. If you like the actual shape and the theme of the bunny, you could make that bunny any way you like. You could use fabric for the inner inserts and the ears. You could use plain felt, whatever you like. I'm just here for inspiration, and if you like the design of this bunny, you can just do your own thing. All right, so I have this felt that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. It comes in a multi-pack, and every time I see it, I pick it up. It comes with orchid and pink, and it's a felt with little polka dots. It's a very flimsy felt, but for this purpose, it works just fine. So now, again, I'm going to wing it, and I'm going to cut out the inserts for the inside of my ears. So that just needs to fit in there inside of the ear. And it doesn't have to go all the way to the bottom. So you see, I didn't make it go all the way to the bottom because I'm going to actually be folding the bottom. And that's how I'm going to make the ears stand up, just like that. After I glue in my inserts, this bunny is pretty easy to make. I think so. And yeah, definitely a cute piece. Now, maybe you'd like to put something else as your focal point in your arrangement. Maybe you have another type of bunny or a bunny head or something like that. You could still go with this design using the Dollar Tree egg and just put in the center something of your preference. So, trying to give you lots of ideas here. Okay, so I'm going to take my little picker tool. How would I ever do without this tool? I use it so much. And I have several of them, which I picked up in the Crafter's Square section from the Dollar Tree. Now, I'm just going to go ahead and just fray out the edges. Now, I want this to look very kind of scrappy and messy and just, kind of a little bit crazy. Now, I'm going to show you how later on I take some Mod Podge and I make those little burlap threads stand up and make them look even more a little bit whimsical and a little bit, scraggly, super cute. Now, don't worry about, making them perfect right now. Because like I said, you're going to take some Mod Podge later and just go around the edges. And when you stiffen up that burlap, you can make those little burlap threads, if you will, go any way you want. Now, the way I construct these ears is I just put them together, actually, and they come right out of the top of the head. So you see, I'm still promoting a little bit of fraying there. Now, obviously, you're not going to get a perfect fray because the fibers or the threads of the burlap are long. But, play around with it. You'll see that you can just, take your fingertip and just promote that fraying. And again, doesn't have to be perfect. This bunny is meant to be fun and just imperfect and whimsical. Okay, so I'm going to take some Aleene's tacky, and I'm just going to put it on the back side of my ear insert, and I'm going to go ahead and prepare my ears. Place that right in there. And then same thing for the other ear. Getting everything all prepared to put the bunny together. Once I have the bunny together, then I can have fun doing the egg. Oh, that is such fun to do that egg. Yeah. Okay, now that's as easy as that. And then I have my little semi-oval pieces. One is a little bit bigger than the other. You see there, I ended up adding a little bit of jute cord to even them out. You could still do that. That's the beauty of hot glue, You could just add on. Okay, so now I cut out 2 ovals for the bunny's foot pads. I'll just call them that. Those are for the base of the foot. And then I cut out 3 circles for each foot. And that's going to be my bunny paw pads, and that is done as well with that felt with the little polka dots. Now, this is the design that I originally did on my first bunny that I did the first year that I had my channel. And I was just so surprised at how popular that bunny was. Yeah, I still have comments on that to this day. So yeah, super cute bunny. Okay, now I'm going to take my Aleene's tacky and I'm going to go ahead and glue on all of my little paw pads. Now, one thing further that I do after I do this, I felt that those paw pads and the ear inserts needed a little bit of outlining. And this is characteristic of something that I've done on quite a number of different pieces. I'm going to outline them with a baker's twine, a very soft baker's twine. Again, I get this from the Dollar Tree. You can also pick it up at Hobby Lobby. They actually have a multi-pack of pretty Easter colored baker's twine or baker's thread. It's more of a softer twine. And in the Easter department. Okay, so I'm going to glue the bottom of my ears. And all I do is put a dab of glue down there, pinch the two sides together where I had that straight part at the base of the ear. And that's how I make my ears stand up. Little bit of glue, fold it, pinch it, hold it there for just a minute. Now I'm going to trim off the bottom of that. I'm going to go ahead and glue a little bit more all down the sides of the burlap. Pinch that together. And then it's as simple as gluing those on top of the head of the jute egg bunny. So yeah, it's pretty simple. That's how it's going to go on there. Now, they're so lightweight that they're not going to move. They're going to stay right there. I'll show you how I put those on after I do this part. Now, I'm going to take my Mod Podge, and I am going to take a sponge applicator. And, I'm showing you there. I used my tweezers. Actually, those are like makeup tweezers. And I just picked out any of those little glue globs because you can pretty well see them on any kind of jute cord. So if you've done any gluing with jute cord, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so I did a little bit of shaping of the fraying, but again, I like it pretty wild. You do you. You don't like that look. So now I'm taking my sponge applicator and see how I'm just dabbing Mod Podge on there. This is going to allow me to just kind of, take my finger and take my sponge applicator and just make the edges of that ear just look scraggly. Now I do it a little bit on the back side as well. And Mod Podge dries perfectly clear, so you will never see that. But yet it will stiffen up those burlap threads. I guess I'll call them threads. And then after it's all stiffened up, you can go around and do any further trimming that you want with scissors. And while it's drying, you could take your finger and just kind of promote, that little bit of fraying along the edges of your ear. Now, I think this was one of the cutest things about this bunny. So if you're using the jute cord, take a few minutes to do this part because it really adds something. Okay, so still going around and doing that. Now I'll do that on both ears, obviously. And I'll just set those aside to dry once I get it just the way I want it. Now, burlap doesn't fray exactly like a piece of fabric would. So you have to really, take a few minutes to create that kind of frayed, scrappy look on the ears. Okay, so they're drying. And this is that cord. It's really soft. And I'm going to just take my little quilling glue applicator. Love this. If you follow my channel, you've seen me use this, and it was one of my recommended items in Craft Room Essentials video. Inside that little quilling glue applicator is Elmer's glue, and it provides me with just a very fine stream of glue, and that's all I need to drop this baker's twine down in that row of glue. And this goes rather quickly, believe it or not. So I'm just dropping my baker's twine down in that stream of glue. Look what it does to that ear. Yeah, this was another step of this bunny that I just never pass by. I always do this because I think it was one of the cute features of this bunny the first time I ever did it. So yeah, I always do this on this bunny. So you can see I'm just making sure that my twine is just outlining that piece of felt. Super easy to do. And I'm going to do this, of course, with both ears. Also, yes, I am going to do it on the bunny paws. And again, this might seem like, wow, that's like a lot of tedious work, but you know how it is here on Craft Central Designs. I am always doing a lot of that extra little detailing that might take a few minutes. If you're an impatient crafter, I guess you could skip this part. You know, it's funny that people that see my crafts, I get the same question all the time. People that are not crafters, well, how long did it take you to do that? You know, like, oh my God, you know, if it takes a long time, I can't do it. And, you know, and I always say, I don't time my projects. You know, sometimes I spread them out over 2 or 3 days. I mean, you know, and I don't care how detailed they are. I love it that way. And I don't care how long it takes me. If I have a vision for a piece, I'll do whatever. It doesn't matter to me. So, yeah, look how cute. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the paws. Now, I don't think I mentioned, but the bigger paw pad there that I'm outlining right there, the oval that goes at the bottom of the foot, I put that on. Mine are a little bit oval in shape, my feet, so that goes at the bottom of the heel. So I like to have mine oval and then have those have it sitting on the bunny with the ovals facing up and down, even though they're not actually vertical on the piece. I do tilt them a little bit sideways, but you get what I mean. Like I don't want the foot. I want the foot to look oblong or longer, just like an actual foot would. Did that make any sense at all? Yeah, I'll talk about it again later. But just shape your bunny foot like that. Now mine are a little bit roundish, but they're also just a little bit ovalish. Shape them the way you want. I'm gluing together the base of my ears. So I just put them together, put a dab of glue there, hold it until it's dry, and it's as easy as that. I do glue them a little bit as well on the back side, which I think you're going to see me do here. And that's at the point where I cut that excess piece off, because that's going to, I want it to sit nice and rest nicely on the top of that egg. Okay, so I put a little bit of glue right across the bottom, and I'm going to put that right on top of the head. Now, you're probably wondering, how did I get that bunny to sit on this piece? Well, wait till you see. I had to figure a way to make this arrangement work, because I am dealing with creating an arrangement on an egg. Okay? I had to put some thought into it. But I did it, and I just sort of came to me that I wanted to do this design, and I just, was winging it through the whole thing. And even for a little while, I was wondering, oh my gosh, is this going to work? Is this going to work? But it actually did. So what I'm going to be doing, just to give you an idea, I'm going to be drilling a hole in the top of that egg. That egg is actually hollow. Now, my first idea was to cut the top of the egg off. So I assigned that little project to my son, and he was explaining to me that was not going to be an easy process to cut the top of that egg off. Now, my son has every saw known to man, I think. He is a master with all of that, but he was saying he had to create some kind of cradle for it in order to cut it off. And I was like, oh, you know what? That just sounds maybe dangerous. I'm not really sure. I don't want you doing anything that's going to create you harm. So I said, forget the egg. Just forget about the egg, and I'm going to come up with a new plan. So I did. Even though he was willing to try it, yeah, I did. So wait till you see what I did. So anyway, I'm going to drill a hole in the top of my egg. Now I'm just doing a little repair work here. And I took a narrow wooden dowel, and I popped that down into the egg, and then I applied a piece of floral foam, popped that down through the dowel. Then I took a little Phillips head screwdriver and I poked a hole in the bottom of the bunny, and I fed the bunny onto the dowel. Now, that sounds a little bit complicated, right? But I'm going to show you how I did it. It actually wasn't. And the great thing is it held everything together. The bunny, it holds the floral foam. Of course, I glued the floral foam as well onto the egg, and it went all the way down into the egg, and it held everything all steady. Of course, I applied a lot of glue as well, which you'll see. But while you're watching me create this bunny and hear me talking, I am creating the face. So I put the button eyes on, and I didn't even cut off the shank because I just pushed it right down in between the rows of that jute twine. Now I have this little flat button here. It's actually pink with polka dots, and that's the way it came, but I'm going to paint it. So this bunny's getting a round nose, not a heart-shaped nose. And I'm just going to use a very lightweight jute twine for the whiskers. Right there is the jute twine I used. It's a very lightweight jute twine. So I'm going to cut 3 pieces per side of the bunny face. Later on, you're going to see me kind of fray out the little jute whiskers. That's to add a little bit more whimsy to this piece. Now, if you're doing a bunny of a different nature, you could use a 26 gauge wire or even a 22 gauge wire to create your whiskers, or maybe you don't want whiskers at all. That's up to you. So I'm just gluing on the features of the face. I don't put a mouth on this one, just the whiskers and the eyes and the nose. No eyelashes on this one either. But if you want those, you could use a 26 gauge black wire. Completely up to you. But I'm going with my original design on this one. So I just put a little dab of glue there in the center. I ended up switching to a tacky glue because I felt it was going to hold those a little bit better. Yeah, because the Elmer's glue was not helping me out there. So just popping those on. I'm going to let those sit for a while. Obviously, they're too long, but those are going to be trimmed up later. And you can, create your whiskers as long or as short as you like. So you can see how I glued on my bunny feet. I put my hot glue right down at the very base of the heel on the opposite side of where you see the little paw pads. Now, again, this bunny is supposed to be looking like it's kind of with the feet facing you, kind of like that. And you don't want to glue them flat to the bunny. You want to just glue them right at the base of the heel and let them kind of poke up a little bit. And notice how I have my bunny feet turned to the side. Now, that's a very cute look for this, so I wouldn't skip that part if I were you. If you like the look of this bunny, that's the way I do this particular bunny. Turning the feet outward. Okay, now you know this bunny has to have a bow on its head. It's going to go right at the base of the ear. I have 3 beautiful little ribbons I'm going to use here. This one happens to be a Dollar Tree ribbon. It's a really pretty shade of pink. And what I'm doing here is this is an imperfect ribbon, so I am going to straighten it out a little bit. It's Dollar Tree, it happens. So I just cut that ribbon and shaped it a little bit better. Now I'm going to take my very narrow, pretty colored pink ribbon. This is super narrow ribbon. And I just wanted to create a loopy bow. So I'm going to do 3 loops using my figure 8 method. And I'm just going to secure that in the center with a little piece of 26 gauge silver wire. So I'm just going to stack these bows. I'm going to have 3 different ribbons in this bow. I'm going to be putting a little flower in the center. Now you can, you do you, whatever you want to put in the center of yours. Or if you just want to wrap the center of the bow to hide the wire, feel free to do that as well. You could put a button in the center. You could put any kind of flower, a paper flower, whatever, turns you on. You could do that. I used a little, I think it's kind of like a resin. I don't know. I picked up this pack of flowers at Walmart at some point in time, and yeah, I have a white one, and I'm going to put it right in the center. It's going to pick up the polka dots and the white in that gingham check. So that's going to look really pretty. My little loopy bow is going to go on the bottom. So I happen to love this ribbon. It's very like papery, if that makes any sense. It just feels kind of like a paper. Anyway, so I'm doing another figure 8 bow, and I'm going to do 4 loops on this one. And pay attention to how big you're doing your bow. Now, I do like it exaggerated on the head of my bunny. So, yeah, that's part of the whimsy and the cute of this bunny is having that really fun bow at the top of the head or at the ear. So 4 loops, I'm going to wrap that super tight with a piece of 26 gauge wire. So in order to get it that way, I just scrunch it up just like that. Pull it super, super tight. And then I twist it super tight on the back. The more I twist my wire, the tighter the center of that bow is. And that's what's going to create a really cute bow. So I pull it really tight, and often I use my needle nose pliers, case in point right there, and I just twist, and that gives me a really tight, nice center to that bow. I'm going to do the same thing for my other bow, which is a polka dot. And this ribbon is the most yummy shade of pink. So I have lots of pinks going on this piece, but none of them clash. All of them look pretty and coordinated together. And I do add orchid into this arrangement, which I think really, really beautified that arrangement. So, again, you use whatever you like. Oh my goodness, there's just so many choices. You could do this arrangement in a daisy theme and use a yellow and white gingham check and a yellow polka dot ribbon, and use daisies on your piece and some little white, some of those little white flowers that look like baby's breath from Hobby Lobby. Oh yeah, I have 101 ideas for how you can change this up. But, as you can see, I'm going with the pink and the orchid again, which is, always my favorite. And it just seems to happen that I just keep doing that. You could also do this in little baby sunflowers. You could do this in blues. Oh, yeah, with some blue and white florals. That would be so pretty. Yeah, you have so many choices for this one. From the bunny all the way down to the color of the egg. So use your creative imagination. Or, if you like, make it exactly like I did. That is completely up to you. Okay, so I'm going to stack these up, and I'm not even going to wire them together. I'm just going to use hot glue. That works just fine. I'm going to align the centers of my bows. And then I'll just pop my little white flower on there. And I ended up putting this on like the last thing, I think. Pretty much the last step on this piece. I think it's because it's just like the cherry, on the sundae. It's just like, oh my gosh, putting that bow on just go, you just like hear violins playing. Yeah, that's the kind of crafter I am. I got so happy with this piece. Oh my goodness. When I started putting in the florals, that was just it. I was one happy crafter. Okay, so just squeezing that all together with my needle nose pliers, another one of those essential craft tools that I put in my essential craft supply video. Yeah, I would not skip a needle nose plier. And it's going to go right on the top of the head at the ear, a little bit off to the side, because of course I don't want that cute bunny face to be covered up at all. Okay, so I'm going to take a nice coordinating pink paint, and I do have to paint my nose, and that's only because I used a little button that I had that was fabric covered, and it was going to be perfect for the nose. So yeah, I just went with that, and I just knew I was going to have to paint it later, but yeah, no big deal painting a little circle. Actually, I had to do it 3 times to cover up the polka dots. But you can use any button. Now, there's my little flower. Again, I don't know what it's made of. It's hard. It's kind of like a resin or something like that. Doesn't really matter. Use whatever you like. But look how pretty it looks in the center of that oh so pretty little bow. So I'm just going to take a small paintbrush, and I'm going to be very careful when I paint this because I don't want to drop any paint on my jute cord. That would just be catastrophic at this point because I've done all of this work. Now I'm going to trim up my whiskers, and I like my middle whisker to be longer and then my whisker on the top and the bottom to be shorter. Now you can make these as long as you want or as short as you want. They look really cute long. That adds to the whimsical look of the bunny. If you like it that way, you can make them even longer than I did. Now, you're going to see me go in later and just kind of untwist the little jute twine there to get like a fuzzy look to the whiskers. That, again, was another feature of my original. Look how cute that bunny is. To my original bunny. That bunny's cute even without the bow. So, yeah, she's adorable. So I know I'm going to have to be trimming up these tails on here because that's just going to go right down over the bunny face, and we can't have that. So I did trim them up even a little bit more once I put that bow on. But like I said, that was kind of like, the cherry on the sundae. I waited till the end. But now I'm going to put a tiny white light in the eye. So you can see I painted my bunny nose. And I'm taking a very fine tip paintbrush, dipping it in a little white acrylic paint, and I'm just going to put a dot on each eye for the white light in the eye. Don't worry about this part. If you mess it up, you get the dot too big, no big deal. Take a little fine point Sharpie marker and just, make your corrections on that eye. Okay, so this is how I came up with my brilliant idea. At least I thought it was anyway. I took a spoon from the kitchen and I hollowed out a piece of this floral foam that I sized to sit on top of that egg. I want to say it's around maybe 4 inches. It doesn't matter how big you start. You can always shave it down. I used a serrated edge knife. You'll see what I did. So now I'm trying to go for like some kind of fit for this piece of floral foam. I needed something to poke my flowers into. So I hollowed out an area, and of course not going all the way through, but just scooped out an area of that floral foam, just like you see it there, to sit right on top of my egg. I just kind of guesstimated how much. So, yeah, what am I doing now? Well, yeah, you probably figured it's coming. Yeah, I'm going to rosy up the cheeks just a little bit on my bunny. So I take a paper towel and I just dry brush almost all the paint off of my brush. And I just going to just lightly dab on a little bit of pink paint to just rosy up the cheeks just a little bit, just to add a little bit of added cuteness to my very cute little girl bunny. So I just use a flathead bristly paintbrush for that. Oh gosh, she's cute. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm untwisting that very narrow fine jute cord and just kind of fraying it a bit. Now, when I do this, I end up with a lot of whiskers, and I don't need all those. So after I fray it out a little bit, which is the look that I'm going for, then I just trim it up with scissors, quite simply. So I did each one of them because I didn't want them to just be that kind of stick look, if you will, of that twine. Looked like sticks kind of poking out there. And I wanted them to be kind of fuzzy. So that's what I'm doing here, just picking away, all I had to do was kind of twist them with my fingertips, and that promoted the unraveling of them. And then I just take my fingers and just like I'm doing there, and that creates the fuzzy look. Then I'm going to take my sharp scissors, trim off any of the excess. We don't need, 8 whiskers on there. So, I'm just going to trim that up once I get that process going. Super cute. And now you can fuss over there. See how the feet look sitting on there? See how I just glued them at the very heel or the bottom of the foot? That's a good visual vantage point there, so you could see how those feet kind of stand out from the bunny. You see that there? Yeah. And then they're turned out as well. Now, if you want to put eyelashes on yours, you could use a 26 gauge black wire. I didn't choose to do that on this bunny, but you could put as many or as few features as you like. But see how my jute cord is kind of fuzzy, frayed out now? That's the way I want it. That's the look I'm going for, but you can keep yours looking kind of like sticks if you like. Look what happened to my egg. I painted it a beautiful shade of pink. That's a crafter's collection. I believe that was flamingo something. Okay, so what I'm going to do with it now was what made this egg. So I painted my egg. I put on 2 coats, and I just used a heat source to dry it in between coats. Now I'm going to take white paint and a paintbrush, and I'm going to dip it in my white paint, and I'm going to use more of a dry brush technique. And I'm just going to hit all of the petals of this egg. Sorry, I could be more in frame. It will get better here, just a second. But what I'm doing here, you could still see, is I'm just hitting the petals of that egg with my paintbrush very lightly. Now, you don't want to have a heavy paint load on your brush. Does this remind you of anything? This is exactly the same flower from the Dollar Tree that I did on my burlap bunny wreath a number of weeks ago. And I did the whole surface of the bunny the same way. This is the same flower. This must have been manufactured by the same company that did the cutout bunny that I created on my burlap wreath. I don't know if you remember that. I did the whole egg. Look how cute that is. Oh my goodness, to leave that. Okay, so look, I just put a whole big blob of Aleene's tacky glue up in my little hole that I created with my spoon. I took a dowel and I poked it through the top. This was a 12-inch dowel, I believe. Up through the top of the egg, I pushed it down through the floral foam, and then I'm going to perch my bunny on that same dowel. So see how everything is held together. Now, I'm sorry I didn't show me drilling the hole in the top, but if you don't have a drill, ask somebody to do it for you. And make sure your drill bit is about the same size as your dowel. Now, you don't want a big, thick dowel. You want a pretty narrow dowel. And on this part, you want to try and get that dowel straight, because if it's crooked, your bunny's going to sit crooked. So you need to get that part right. So, yeah. So when you put it in, now I'm taking a Phillips head screwdriver. Sorry, out of frame again. This piece had a lot of fine details, so I had to really get close to, get it all done. But I just took a Phillips head screwdriver and screwdrivered it up into the styrofoam bunny. And that's all I did there. So this way my dowel fits through my floral foam down into the top of the egg. And then I made sure I had it positioned really, really straight, that dowel. And then I poked a lot of hot glue down in the hole of the floral foam. I wanted everything to be super secure. Now, what am I doing here? I took a serrated edge knife from the kitchen, and I'm trying to create kind of not a ball or anything round, certainly nothing you need to obsess over getting right or shapely, but I'm just kind of trimming down my floral foam to have somewhat of a ball shape. Now, I waited until I had all that dry. I wanted the glue to dry underneath my floral foam, which I glued on top of the egg. And then, I put an additional amount of tacky glue around underneath the floral foam where it meets the egg. And I let that sit and dry for a bit, and make sure that your dowel is straight up and down, very vertical, okay? Okay, so now I'm going to take some green Excelsior because I'm going to be using a lot of greenery on this piece, and I do not want to see the floral foam. So I'm taking bits of this Excelsior, shaping it into like a strip, and I'm gluing it to the top of my, right at where the egg meets the floral foam. And then I'm going to continue covering that floral foam piece, but not, entirely, but just for the most part, covering it. And I just use bits of hot glue to do that. So what you can see that I did here thus far is that I poked that dowel through my floral foam and then poked it right down into the top of the egg. Then just making sure that I have my dowel sitting vertically. And if you need help doing that, just add some hot glue down in the hole. All right, so this is what you have now. And believe it or not, this is holding very well. So never mind cutting off the top of the egg. I created my own floral foam base on top of the egg by just simply hollowing out an area on the underside of the floral foam. Okay, so now, I popped in a couple of florals, just was over anxious there. I wanted to see what it looked like. And even to this point, I still wasn't sure, is this going to work? Because I don't think I've ever seen this before. So, yeah. So in my effort to, do this piece, I sometimes was a little out of frame, and I apologize anytime that I did that. But this turned out to be a very tall piece. But I'll try and make sure that you have all the instructions. Now, what am I doing here that you can't see? Well, I made sure that I had a big enough hole so that that dowel would go right up into the styrofoam in between the jute cords to hold my bunny. And this is very tall and very difficult to film. So, but I'm showing you here. This is what I did. So I just pushed that dowel right up into the under part of the bunny. And this worked very well. And I did put some glue on there. And then furthermore, I dumped a bunch of hot glue into the area where I poked that dowel into the bottom of the bunny. So yeah, lots of glue going on here because I wanted to be sure that it all stayed intact. And I'm telling you, I was pretty impressed at how this turned out. So did you notice that I left about maybe 3 inches of bare dowel there? That's going to all be filled in with greenery and florals. And I'm going to make my greenery and my florals just go right up to the feet of the bunny and the butt of the bunny because I want this bunny to look like it's sitting in a kind of field of florals and greenery. That makes sense. Okay, so let's go about putting the greenery in. This is my first choice to create a bed of greenery. This is a Hobby Lobby greenery. Absolutely love it. Notice that everything I'm poking into my floral foam, I put a little bit of glue. Now, I want my greenery to go all different directions, but I especially want it, some of it to face like it's draping down over the egg. So I'm going to go around my piece, front and back, obviously, sides, and I'm going to put in a lot of this feathery greenery. Every other week, this is 40% off. It comes in a small bunch. I am never without it. Love, love this greenery. So I'm going to poke it in so that it drapes down over the egg. I'll show you this here in a second. And also it pokes outward and upward. See what I did there? See, I'm showing you there. It's just going in all different directions. But I love the look of it draping down over the egg. Now, the egg is still going to show a lot. So I'm not covering the egg, but I'm just creating this really pretty application of greenery that's going to hold all of my beautiful colored florals. Now I'm going to my second type of greenery. This is also a Hobby Lobby greenery. It's a little leafy greenery, very small little leaves, but oh, so great for creating a nice bed of greenery. Now you can still see the floral foam there. That's fine. I put enough Excelsior just to basically hide it, but I'm telling you, by the time you have all your florals in there, you won't be seeing all that floral foam anyway. So notice how I'm starting to gradually poke all that greenery around the feet of the bunny and just the base of the bunny. I don't want a space there. All right, my third favorite greenery. Love this eucalyptus-y looking greenery. Again, Hobby Lobby. Now these bunches are, I want to say, $7.49. And then again, I always get them on the 40% off week. And look what that does to this piece. Always that eucalyptus is beautiful. I just love the color variance. I love the texture variance. I love the variance between that feathery greenery and then the smaller leafy greenery. So I'm going to go around my piece just like I did with the other greenery and continue to place that here and there, going in different directions, applying a dab of glue. I am really making sure this piece is stable. Now, I can go in later and make sure that there's no space between my bunny and my greenery and my florals. That's my last minute finishing touches on this piece to make sure that my bunny looks just like I wanted. See how that greenery drapes down over the front of that absolutely beautiful egg. I am just loving the color of that egg. Now, I started out, I was going to do it like a burlap look. Like a burlap color. I actually if I can speak, painted that egg in a burlap color. And I was going to do the white wash over the flowers with white paint. And then I just took a complete turn, a change of mind, and I went with a pink. And I'm so glad I did. I think it's just beautiful. Now I'm going to really start getting happy here because I'm putting in all of my color. Now, these are Ashland floral ranunculus. So pretty. Look at the pretty pinks. So I'm going to go around, and now this is at the point where you just have to use your best ability to create balance, symmetry, and distribution of color in your arrangement. So I'm going around first and putting in any of the ranunculus that I have to use on this piece. I only had this one stem of them. And so now I'm going to distribute my color around that floral piece. I'm going to, of course, do the back. I'm going to turn it around now and pop some in there as well. Okay, that's it so far. Looking good. Now I'm just going to be popping in all kinds of other florals here. This really pretty bush is an Ashland floral, and it has a lot of different flowers and greenery on it. That's why I actually chose it. And I'm just going to pop in now some different shades of orchid. And oh boy, this looks so, so pretty. And I'm going to just choose all different stems from that piece. And I'm also going to use some greenery. See that greenery I have in my hand there? I really like that. Now I have some little tiny orchid flowers. And again, it was really hard to show this piece in its entirety. With, the height of this piece is, I don't know exactly how tall it is, but between the egg and the body of florals and then the bunny with the tall ears, it's a tall piece and it's super, super, super cute. So I'm using that greenery that I like there, and I left it out right now, but I'm going to add that later. Look at these cute little flowers. Oh, this is such a cute stem of spring flowers. Oh, my goodness. And, just put some glue on there. And I'm still careful with my floral foam piece because, trust me, I put quite a glob of Aleene's tacky to hold that on the very top of my egg where I hollowed out that area. So I'm just being still very careful. But I'm choosing lots of different elements to go in my piece, just distributing my colors. Some of my flowers I point downward, some of them are facing forward, some of them are poking outward, and some of them are poking upward. So this is kind of a real rounded piece. which you can imagine because you saw the floral foam there. Oh, yeah, this is just so pretty. And I know really just keep saying that, but I think this is one of my favorite pieces that I have done so far this Easter decorating season, which, by the way, yeah, I think I'm pretty much coming to a close on the Easter, and I'm going to start on spring. I also am going to be posting a video where I'm going to be previewing some projects I have coming up. I just got a big craftcentral.com order. Oh my goodness, the ribbons and the deco mesh. But I'm looking forward to spring and summer wreaths. And I'm going to be doing a special project. And while you watch me do this, another type of floral I'm adding there. I'm just going to mention what I'm going to be talking about in that preview video. I have an issue with my craft tools and supplies. You know, it always seems to be just a big hot mess on my craft table. And I need to create some type of organization. So if you are in the same crafting boat as I am gathering together materials to make a real awesome kind of a caddy for my craft table. And I'm going to use a large wood round, and I'm going to be gathering some very interesting pieces to create holders for all types of tools. And I'll talk more about it in the video coming up, but I came up with some really great ideas. It's going to be also attached to a Lazy Susan or a turntable, and I am going to become organized. Yeah, and it's going to be really cool. I'm going to make it beautiful, covering the pieces with scrapbook paper. Oh my gosh, it's going to be great. And I have this idea in my head. So if you think you are also someone who could use some organization on your craft table, yeah, you're going to appreciate this project coming up. So I'm just going to take you with me while I create it and try and tempt you to do one for your craft table as well. Okay, so as you can see, I am adding, oh boy, the florals are beautiful. Different shades of orchid, just so pretty. Oh, there it is, I said it again. So I want to make sure that I have my flowers, nice big shot of my hand there. I want to make sure that I'm getting all of my flowers also around the feet of the bunny, where the bunny is supposed to be looking like it's kind of sitting in a bed of flowers or a field of flowers. Yeah, so pretty. Keep going and just keep adding in whatever pieces that you have that you think that will look beautiful. Now, this is, I think it's called thistle. I believe that's what it's called. I'm going to add 3 of those. Love those. That's an Ashland floral as well. Now, the one thing that I didn't add into this arrangement is anything white. But feel free to add that into yours. I just went with pinks and orchids. I could have added white because I have the white flowers on the egg. But yeah, this was just the way I wanted it to look. And the beautiful thing is you do you, and you make yours look just like you want it to look as well. Any of those sparse areas I could see there in the back of the bunny needed some florals or some greenery. Now's the time when you really take the time to create that balance and symmetry and color distribution in your piece. This is the back of the bunny. Notice I pay attention to that as well, because I'm assuming this could be a centerpiece, so it would be viewed from all sides. This would be a great piece for a buffet table. You know, any space. A shelf, a fireplace mantle, a table of any kind. It's just beautiful, and it should be, filled in from all sides. Okay, so here you go. Now I'm showing you it full length here. And all of my floral, I popped in some of that greenery. You can see that see that greenery there? That's so pretty in there. Yeah, I really love how this turned out. Everything all mounted on my very pretty Dollar Tree plus section egg. That egg is kind of heavy. I wasn't sure what it was made of, but evidently it's difficult to just saw off the top and then use it as a hollow vessel for, creating an arrangement. I don't know if you think you could hollow it out a little bit. You could try that. But now the cherry on top. Here it is. I'm putting my bow on. I'm tucking it right there under the ear. Oh, my goodness. So it's a little bit off to the side, on the left side, as you see it here in the video. Hot glue will hold that on very nicely. And I'm just going to work to have the loops of my bow just not encroach on the face area. And now I need to do a little trimming of the tails. Angle cuts, of course. That polka dot ribbon, I don't know if I mentioned it, such a pretty color. That is from Walmart. They have beautiful narrow ribbons. And as you can see, they also have little flowers. Now, I looked for a paper flower, but I didn't have one in white, so I had every color but that. But yeah, I wanted that white on there, so I did add a little bit of white there on the body of the arrangement. Oh boy, yeah, love, love. Tell me what you think of this one. Oh, one more thing. I put a little whitewash over the nose that you can see there. I don't think I mentioned that. Now, I thought about doing a bow, but I didn't. I didn't do it. But if I had, these were definitely going to be the ribbons I was going to use. Oh, that beautiful orchid burlap, just so divine. This ribbon, or an RG ribbon, gorgeous, would have been beautiful. But it just wasn't going to fit comfortably on that piece at that 1.5-inch ribbon. I may ultimately do a very small bow, as I mentioned before, out of narrow ribbons, because this is going to be a raffle item. But this is it. Here's my very whimsy little bunny sitting in a floral bed. Oh my goodness. Look at the color. And right down to my Dollar Tree Plus egg. That's a heavy piece, so it sits very nicely with that arrangement. Okay, remember to subscribe if you are not currently. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed. And let me know in the comments what you think of this bunny and how you might do yours. Okay, until next time, you all take care.